to nobody's surprise, like, we knew Mendoza was going to be the number one guy. Like, there was no, hey, if fans or buts about it. So, my reaction to it is we saw it coming, so it is what it is. With picks 2, 3, and 4, with Bailey, Love, and Tate, I'm not going to lie. I think there was just maybe you could have pulled a hammy with how much these teams stretched for these players. Because as far as we know, Ty Simpson, he was going number 2, and then like the last week, maybe 42 hours before the draft, all of a sudden the stock for Bailey went up. Jets went and got him. And then Love, I did not see him going to the Cardinals. There was no way at the 3 pick, because I didn't think, and even in one of my prediction videos, I said I don't think a running back is going to be drafted in the top 5, because I said I don't think anybody's going to go make that jump to wear that for the rest of the GM or whoever drafted him for one of their draft picks. I'm going, yep, you traded all that up to go get Jordan Love, and then he ended up being a bust or whatever. But nope, Cardinals were like, yeah, we're going to take him, and they did. And I think they should have gotten a quarterback, but that's just me. And then with the 4th pick, didn't go defensive side of the ball. They went offensive side of the ball and went and got Carnell Tate, so an offensive weapon for Cam Ward. I think it's a good pick, but man, there's parts of me that think he could have been there if the Titans waited. But again, it is what it is. Biggest thing, though, out of it was Love. I think Love is going to be a great addition for the Cardinals, but like I said, I think it was a little bit of a reach, because if I'm being honest, if he was not picked at number 3, I think the only other team that would have gotten him probably would have been Kansas City with their pick. But then we saw how they went. They went and got 2 defensive guys. So I don't know. There's probably parts of me that think he probably could have slipped, fell to be a day 2 kind of guy. But anyways, moving on to the next couple picks here. We got 2 Buckeyes and then the Chiefs defensive pick with Mansour. Look, I don't know what the Chiefs saw. I don't know what Washington saw with Sonny Styles. I think the Arvell Reese one, though, and I think all of these players fell right into place, even though Kansas City traded up. So maybe there was a little bit of buzz on, hey, you know what, let's go get LSU. And maybe that's made the Chiefs go, no, we're going to get in the way. But I think the Giants, I don't think the Giants could have lost. You know what I mean? Like, with whoever the Giants ended up picking, like, it needed to be a home run. I think Styles is going to help Washington's defense, so I would consider that a hit. I know it sounds like these picks I'm a little bit more positive on the first 3 picks, but I think there's a lot of difference makers, and there were a lot of different changes and like a lot of unexpected picks with the drafts. I mean, if you ask a lot of people, I said it in one of my prediction videos where a hot take that I had was Tyson would not be the first wide receiver off the board. It ended up being Tate that went first, and then Tyson went to the Saints. I originally had him picked to go to the Rams. I did predict that Browns would pick up a lineman, so I got that one correct. And funny enough, Miami with their second pick late with Johnson predicted that one too. Seriously, go look at my mock drafts. I just threw it out there to to hell with it, and just it is what it is, but it ended up being right. And then Miami picking up a guard there to improve the Giants' offensive line. I think that's a big key piece, because again, we see where the future is with Dart and Scadaboo, so it's a good pick. But with the Saints picking up Tyson, I think it's a steal. Right now, I would say the Saints probably should be looked at as a team that can probably go sneak out the South in the NFC, because I think it's pretty wide open, because it's not going to the Panthers again. And I don't know about the Bucks. I don't know, but they had a mid-season collapse, so it is what it is. All right, the next 3 picks, we got Caleb Downs going to the Cowboys. He was one of my big hot takes, but not for the Cowboys. I had him going to the Vikings. Kenan Proctor to the Dolphins. It doesn't make sense to me, but it doesn't need to make sense to me. It needs to make sense to Miami. Did not see that one coming. I thought offensive weapons for your new quarterback coming in, but then you go get a lineman to protect. Oh, okay, that it's weird, but it's like, oh, okay, all right. I originally had Proctor going to the Lions, and then the Rams trading up to the 13th spot to go get Ty Simpson. I don't get it. Don't get it. Don't understand it. Um, Already talked about Proctor. I thought Miami, a dumb hot take that I had is that Miami would trade back and then still go get a quarterback in the second round or something. Go get a defensive guy because that's what one of their needs were. So I thought they would have used that on with this pick. Go get a defensive guy like Bain or Mesidor, or Bailey. But again, Bailey was the second pick, so it is what it is. But I don't know. We'll just see with Malik Willis because they paid him a lot of money. So obviously they think he's going to be there for the next 7-8 years. All right. Who did I miss out on? Oh, here we go. Simpson. Okay. Hot take that I had that aged like sour milk. I thought the Cowboys would have drafted him. Okay. And I still have that hot take because one of the hot takes I had was I think only 3 or 4 quarterbacks are actually going to get drafted from this draft class. It was going to be Carson Beck, Fernando Mendoza, Ty Simpson, and Garrett Nussmeier. And the big shot that I took where it's like, hey, this one makes sense. I think it might be one of those, whoa, what are we doing here? But it makes sense. What if the Cowboys went and drafted a quarterback? Kind of like a Aaron Rodgers situation or it kind of was a little bit with Kirk Cousins because Kirk Cousins was the starter with Atlanta because he signed that deal, and then 2 seconds later they drafted Penix. Oh look, he gets picked up by the Raiders, and then 2 seconds later they draft Mendoza. I had a feeling that hot take would be Ty Simpson gets drafted by the Cowboys, and this could be like the last season and a half for Dak Prescott before they move into a new QB era or something. And it ended up being wrong. They went and got him. The Rams did, which a little confused. Doesn't make sense, but it's kind of. I think if they didn't, because they spent a lot to go get him, kind of like how the Vikings did with McCarthy. If they just let him go and let him walk, because you look, the Cardinals, the Jets, like he was gonna slide to the second round. He was gonna be a day 2, day 3 guy. I think the Rams would have been just fine picking him up day 2 or day 3 because there was a lot of Orlovsky talked about it a little bit with the Pat McAfee simcast and stuff where like, oh, next year or the year after they're not going to be high draft picks, so they might as well get a QB now for the future. I think Stafford can still play 4 or 5 more years. And so I do think this is because it's different with the Steelers drafting Will Howard and Rodgers only playing 2 or 3 years with the Steelers versus Stafford probably has another 5 or 6 years. Because who knows? Stafford could be pesky and he could drag his feet on his way out the door like Rodgers a little bit and go pick up another team or whatever. Because we're noticing like Brady, Roethlisberger, Wilson, like all these vets that we watched growing up, like they're going to their second and their third teams because they're playing into their late 30s, early 40s because, hey, guess what? Joe Flacco, dude can still sling it. And so with them getting Simpson, to me it kind of made no sense because Rams aren't going to let him go. But this is kind of that early sign of, okay, they might let him go. But then they also have Garoppolo, even though they didn't re-sign him. And then they picked up Stetson Bennett and drafted him all those years ago. So it's kind of like, all right. But I don't know. Not because the QB backup was already filled, but more Stafford just won the MVP and was on the cusp of making a Super Bowl run, and then they went and got a young quarterback. That's where I'm a little because I think he could still play another 5-6 years, but that's just me. All right, moving on with the next couple picks. I predicted him actually going to the Steelers. So the fact that he went to the Ravens, funny. Buccaneers picked up Bain. We knew that Bain slid a little bit. I think it was with the articles that were breaking recently. Then we got Sadiq to the Jets, which solid pickups. I think you give Lamar Jackson some protection, works great. You help improve because didn't David White just retire? Like, so the Bucks have lost a couple pieces in this offseason. Feel bad for Sadiq though going to the freaking Jets and like with Arizona, with the Jets, with the Titans, like there are a certain number of teams. Even I'd throw the Giants out there as well too. Like it didn't matter who they drafted, they're still going to be in the top and probably be top 5 next year as well because like I think the draft is kind of like a retooling process as well with free agency where the good teams stay good, but the bad teams kind of build to try to get a little bit better. Because you're telling me the Jets are magically going to turn it around and not be a top 5, top 10 draft pick? No, not happening. So feel bad for Sadiq, dude. It sucks. And then we had a lot of beef, with a lot of linemen. I believe there were 9 linemen picked. I had Monroe going to the Texans, so I was pretty wrong with that, but. Moving on to the next handful of guys. Malachi Lemon falling all the way to the Eagles. I think I predicted Lemon being drafted before Tyson in my mock draft. I could be wrong on that. And then we got the Chargers because I believe the Chargers, let me double check. I think the Chargers were a trade. Nope, the Eagles were a trade. The Chargers were already sitting there. It's Dallas and the Browns after 2 back-to-back trades with Malachi Lawrence and Casey Concepcion. We'll get there, though. But the Steelers picking up a lineman as well, because, again, there are a lot of linemen picked up. You notice there was only 2 backs, 2 quarterbacks, and the rest were linemen, whether defensive side of the ball or offense, and then wide receivers sprinkled in here and there. But with going to, Akeem Mesidor for the Chargers, huge pickup. I mean, him and Bain, that Miami defense was elite, and so I think the Chargers had a good pickup there. Now, we'll just see how they fare out in the playoffs, because it's the Chargers, man. My expectations are not too high, but good pickup for the Chargers. Stand out at Miami, so great pick. I think he would have been a steal wherever he went. I didn't have him, so he was the 22nd pick. I didn't have him falling this far. I had him top 15. So let's move on. Keep it going here. Inman for the Bears. Didn't see that happening. Like I predicted him and Rodriguez. Who else? I think I had Casey Concepcion in the first round as well. Just like there were like personal, like. Of course I'm gonna predict Scatterboo in the first round. There are a couple guys that I predicted thought he was gonna be a day 2 guy. Bears are like, nope, we'll come get you. And then the Cowboys had 2. They got Downs, and then they got Lawrence. So, which he was on nobody's draft boards, which kind of surprising. Then the Browns got Casey Concepcion. Fortunately, it's the Browns. The Browns are still the Browns. All right, let's move on. Which he was solid at Oregon too, so it's a good pick. We'll see where it goes though, because the Bears got rid of a lot of defensive players. All right, moving on here. Keeping it going. As you guys can see, we still got some more beef. We got Lomu from Utah. We got Rutledge from Georgia Tech, and then Chris Johnson from San Diego State. I joked and said, hey, because when I made my first mock draft, I just saw, okay, Miami needs a corner safety. I just threw him out there for fun, and then it ended up, being what it is. I think we knew the Texans needed an offensive guy. That's why I ended up picking the guy from Georgia. But I wonder if this pick, with Caleb Lomu, is it competition with Will Campbell? Like what? Because we know Drake May, you build an offensive line for Drake. I don't know. That'd be a huge overreaction. I think it's a solid pick though. All right, moving on. And then the last four guys, you know, we got Woods, we got Cooper Jr., we got Falk, and then we got Price, which there were more trades because, again, after pick 15, let's count here. No, Ty Simpson was a trade pick. The Dolphins was a trade pick as well. We had 1, 2, 3. No, hold on. That was before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 draft day picks that were trades. The Bills, I don't see the Bills on here. They opted out. The Jets not only double dipped, they triple dipped. Getting Cooper Jr., Sadiq, and Bailey. But it's the Jets, so we'll just see. But my biggest standout for these last handful of guys, you got to go with Price, which if you've been kind of keeping up with like the NFL offseason, this pick shouldn't surprise you too much. But it also kind of shows, I think, two things. Shows how weak the running back class and the quarterback class were this year. Because, as we see, yeah, there were a couple sprinkled wide receivers here and there, but it was just linemen, D-linemen, corners, and safeties. And then just our two quarterbacks with Mendoza, which was very predictable. But anyways, back to, though, why you shouldn't be surprised with Seattle getting Jadarian Price. Because they needed a running back. Hello. And I've been on this train, and I'll continue to say it. I don't understand why they traded Kenneth Walker away to the Chiefs. They just let it happen. Maybe his price tag was too high. Maybe they wanted to split it. You know, they had to choose between do we pay our young guy with Jackson Smith and Jigba? Do we pay our Super Bowl MVP with, who am I thinking of? Oh my gosh, why am I blanking? Kenneth Walker. Oh my gosh, that took me too long. Do we pay him? And I think they chose the receiver because we notice that is what the market is now, is paying receivers a lot of money, whether it's too much or not enough. I personally think it's a little too much. That's just me though. Should we be paying receivers $60 million a year or over 50? No, I think receivers yearly, I think 25 is good enough. But again, I'm not a GM, so if you were surprised by this pick, you shouldn't be, just because, like, Charbonnet tore his ACL in the 49ers game, so he's going to miss some time this year. And then they traded away. Where's your running back? You got the last pick. And with how running backs were talked about leading up to this draft, you would have had one fall right there on your lap, which, funny enough, well, if Love was still there for the Chiefs, I think the Chiefs would have went and got him. But they didn't need to make any moves. He fell right to him. So, anyways, guys, though, that's my thoughts and reactions to the draft. It is what it is. It is what it is. I think I'm noticing a pattern of, like, you can never make a full, complete mock draft board because, like, just things change. Like, there's so many trades that happen day of, like, I just counted out, 15 day of trades. So, I mean, that was unpredictable. I don't know. I think a lot of people keep things close to the chest, but be sure to let me know your thoughts, guys, in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.